So you've decided to go down the path of hipster motorcycle ownership, but you have a sense of self-worth and have decided that maybe owning an authentic retro motorcycle might be a little bit too tough, aka points ignition systems and carburetors will be the daddy dom to your sweet little sub self. Well, lucky for you, there's never been a better time to own an authentic looking motorcycle with some serious retro charm, but with a decidedly modern engine and frame. There's plenty of offerings on the market today, and the one we're looking at in this video is the Triumph Street Scrambler. It's a bike that combines style, performance, and enough playfulness to enjoy through a twisty back road, a morning commute, and even a well-manicured forest road. Today we will be covering a brief history of the bike, all the relevant specifications, the riding impression for a new rider and experienced riders, some competitors, and we'll be rendering an opinion on who should get this bike as we take a look at a comprehensive review of the Triumph Street Scrambler. Before we begin, why do I even have a Street Scrambler? Well, it's part of our beginner bike giveaway series that is actually wrapping up. If you hit the link below to yammie.co, you can join our amazing community by registering for free on our website. You can then select the beginner subscription bundle to get entered to win the Street Scrambler, a Honda CBR 500, and a Kawasaki Z650. You'll also get access to our exclusive Discord server, our member meetup feature, and behind the scenes content that never goes live on YouTube. If that doesn't sound appealing, you can always go to yammie.merch.com and pick out any piece of merch to get entered to win. After checkout, you'll get an email where you can select your sweepstakes and allot your points. Don't miss out. The Street Scrambler is a seriously sweet ride and I can't wait to give it away. Alright, so the Triumph Street Scrambler is actually part of the Bonneville line of motorcycles from Triumph. In case you know nothing about bikes, the Bonneville is one of the most legendary line of bikes because it's been around since the 50s. It's the classic standard style parallel twin Havant bike from Great Britain, and it has a cult following for a reason. In the 60s, intrepid souls would take these Bonnevilles and modify them for off-road duty by putting longer travel suspension, bigger front wheels, and lightening the bikes to travel across deserts and trails. The Street Scrambler is a modern interpretation of these bikes from days past, retaining a very street-biased setup, but with some features that make it capable enough to tackle some light off-roading. This gives it a genuinely authentic Scrambler feel in my opinion, but we'll get to that later in the video. Let's take a look at some relevant specs on this bike. The Street Scrambler is motivated by Triumph's velvety smooth 900cc parallel twin. It's a relatively understressed engine producing 65 horsepower and 59 foot-pounds of torque. It features a 5-speed gearbox, which is a bit odd in the modern day, but it adds to the retro appeal. Fifth gear on this box is basically a gigantic overdrive gear, so usually you'll find yourself sneaking through the first 4 gears thanks to an extremely tactile and rewarding gearbox. It features a very friendly 31.1-inch seat height and weighs around 500 pounds. Triumph only claims dry weight, so we're having to estimate that a little bit. Up front, we have a 19-inch wheel rubber banded by some relatively skinny 190 section tires, and out back we have a 17-inch with a 150/70 setup. The Street Scrambler has wire-spoked wheels for that authentic retro flair, but features tubeless tires for ease of ownership. The tire size allows for some interesting options. You can get some nice sport touring tires if you're not really interested in going off-road, or you can beef up your ride with some seriously knobby rubber. Stopping power is provided by a single-disc Brembo up front at 310mm. It features a beautiful sweeping analog speedometer with an LCD display that allows for an off-road mode that gives you rear ABS turned off, which is an invaluable feature in a bike ostensibly designed to go off-roading. The bike also has this gorgeous high pipe fitted to it front from the factory, which doubles as a thigh warmer if you're into that sort of thing, and the chain is on the opposite side that you're used to. All of this costs you about $11,000 on the showroom floor, which is a big chunk of change if you're chasing performance, but not all that crazy for the market that it's in. But specs are one thing, let's talk about the way it all comes together and how it rides. The way I describe the Street Scrambler is simply approachable. This is a friendly and inviting bike that is way more playful than you think when you jump aboard. I swung a leg over the Triumph back in October when we picked it up for our giveaway, and I immediately felt at home on it. It's intuitive, easy to ride, and with the low seat height and wide bars, the bike is just so simple to chuck around low-speed U-turns, high-speed corners, and everything in between. Triumph has a fantastic attention to detail when it comes to building and designing bikes. As many of you know, I'm a pretty diehard Triumph fan as I race a Daytona 675 and have owned owned several of them in the past. The clutch engagement is smooth, easy to manage, and simple to find the engagement zone. The levers feel awesome and premium. The gearbox on the Street Scrambler is just sublime. It snicks into place, never missing a beat, never giving a sense of false neutral about to happen, and an incredibly tactile and assured engagement. The front brake feel is powerful and predictable as well, plenty of stopping power for the pace provided by the machine. However, I was more impressed with the rear brake and the rear brake lever, oversized for those long days on the trail and those tricky descents you're likely to encounter. Turn the off-road mode on and you'll be skidding and sliding around like those guys back in the 60s. However, the standout feature for me on the Triumph is the throttle feel. If you've never ridden a new Triumph, I highly recommend you do so simply because the throttle feel these bikes have. It's so smooth from off to on, the throttle is linear and predictable and just has an exceptional feel to it. The thing that surprises me most about the bike is just how fun it is to ride. You'd expect a bike like this to take itself very seriously, perhaps even a very stately fashion, but it's just not the case. Again, once you flip the switch and turn it on, do yourself a favor and engage off-road mode and basically keep it stuck there forever. Otherwise, the nannies won't allow you to even float a 2-inch wheelie or slide the bike at all. Take off with the Triumph and you'll soon find yourself clutching up first gear wheelies from stoplights, flinging the bike over curb launches in neighborhoods, skidding the rear wheel at any opportunity, and treating speed bumps like glorified trail features. Maybe that's just how I ride, but the bike truly does elicit some bad behavior from me. The power delivery on the engine is so rewarding too. The word I'd use for it again is velvety. It has a deep purple from low down, makes ample low and mid-range torque so you never find yourself wringing it out to redline. We installed the Vance & Hines slip-on system for ours and it has an exceptional bark and growl to it as well. But it's not all glowing praise for the Triumph, even though I do think it's a very special and fun bike. There are downsides. At $11,000, I do find it hard to justify this ride, especially when you consider that a Ducati Scrambler Icon, which provides much of the same fun factor and pizzazz, costs just $9,695. Granted, I am partial to the Ducati since I own a Desert Sled variant, however the point still stands because the base Icon has a very similar set of specs, which we'll dive into when we compare competitors. The 5-speed gearbox, although perfectly usable, is a strange touch for the bike. I think it could benefit from a traditional 6-speed box with closer gearing and 6th as a strong overdrive gear as well. I'd also like a little bit more ground clearance and adjustable suspension at this price point, but that's a small quibble to be honest, since the suspension works really well as is even though you can't adjust it. Otherwise, the bike delivers exactly what it promises, a fun and rewarding authentic Scrambler experience. We have the bike placed in our beginner bike giveaway series, however the question remains, is it beginner rider appropriate? For me, the answer is yes. Despite it having a 900cc engine, the power delivery is super mellow, the riding position is authoritative and easy, and as an experienced motorcyclist, this is a bike I would feel perfectly confident recommending to a first-time rider who's probably 24 years or older or something like that. It might be a bit too heavy, expensive, or torquey for an 18-year-old, for example. However, I think in the hands of a mature rider, it's a bike you can enjoy for years and years. Now, let's talk about the relevant competitors to this machine. No doubt about it, the other Scrambler you're probably looking at is Ducati's Scrambler Icon model, and there's good reason for that. It's a sexy ride with that lovable air-cooled Desmo V-twin that's just so torquey from down low. I have a Scrambler model myself, as I mentioned earlier. I even put out a whole video comparing my Desert Sled to the Street Scrambler, but the Icon makes a strong case for itself. As previously mentioned, it costs substantially less than the Street Scrambler, and it's not much less motorcycle. Featuring a relatively strange 18-inch front end and 17 out back, no skid plate, no high pipe, and fewer tire options, you're likely better equipped on the Street Scrambler for off-roading. However, both of these bikes are more about how much gumption you have as a rider rather than their actual specs when it comes to off-roading. Both are plenty capable to be chucked down a two-way trail, a light dirt road, or forest road. The Ducati definitely has more character and charm thanks to its older air-cooled engine and less precise gearbox that seemingly cannot find neutral. They're both very different riding experiences, and I think you owe it to yourself to try both out if you're thinking of one Scrambler versus another. The other relevant competitor for today is BMW's R9T. This is a bike I tend to gloss over, however, our newest team member Whitney has an R9T that comes in the Urban GS flavor, and I gotta say, it impressed me on our Scrambler shootout video, which, in case you missed that one, definitely go and check it out. It's got tons of charm with that boxer engine. It literally shakes and slaps the bike from side to side when you rev it up. With some seriously sexy looks comes a not not so sexy price tag of $12,995, and they are difficult to come across. I've only ever seen 2 of these in the wild, so if you want a scrambler that's rare and unique, this is definitely the one to get new off the showroom floor. Another contender you might not have thought of is the Husqvarna Fartpilon 701. The big brother to the Fartpilon 401, which I have said many times is my choice for any new rider, as it is one of the best small displacement bikes I've ever ridden. The 701 is just more. You might not have the 1917 setup like the Triumph, but what it lacks in wheel size, it also lacks in weight. At 398 pounds fully fueled, it's over 100 pounds lighter than the Triumph. It also features a powerful and pokey single cylinder that makes 70 horsepower from factory. Thanks, KTM. This Fartpilon 701 could be the right scrambler for you, even if Husqvarna says it's more of an urban assault enduro kind of bike. Fully adjustable suspension and a sub $10,000 price point makes it an attractive motorcycle. If it's as fun as the 401, I'm definitely interested in it. At the end of the day, the Triumph Street Scrambler is a fantastic motorcycle. It ticks off all the boxes that it intends to tick off. As an authentic scrambler experience, it's difficult to fault the thing. And best of all, you're not giving anything up by owning one. You've got a flexible motorcycle that's fun and rewarding to ride, built to a high specification. Easy maneuver for both the entry-level and experienced rider alike, makes a great sound, and is enjoyable to own. If you're okay with the slightly higher price point, the quirk of a 5-speed gearbox, and some leftover weirdness of the heritage model bikes, it's an excellent machine. I'm comfortable rating the Street Scrambler as a 9 out of 10 motorcycle for what it was designed to do. There's plenty of bikes here in the Yammie Noob fleet, and I often reach for the keys to the Triumph when we're heading out and we need a backup bike or a comparison bike, and that should tell you all I need to know right there. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. Remember, I am giving away the Street Scrambler you've seen in today's video, so be sure to check out the links below to make sure you're entered to win as time is running out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch our first ride impression on the Street Scrambler, our Scrambler comparison videos. We have one where I compared it to my desert sled, and another where we did a 3-way shootout with the R9T and the Ducati Icon. Thanks for watching. It'd be great if you subscribe to the channel, as we put out new videos about motorcycling every single day in a way that's fun and informative. We'll see you on the next one. See you later. You've made it to the end of a Yammie Noob video. Did you like what you saw? Do you want to see more of it? Check it out, right here, just like magic, waiting for you. Click this little square right here. More memes, more Yammie, more of my face. Isn't that great?